Hey YouTube, this is Jeremiah from New Life Counselling. Hope you're doing well wherever you're at today. Hey, we just finished talking about in the last video the difference between introverts and extroverts. Now, what's the whole point of that? Well, again, as I mentioned in the last video, the purpose of that is to build relationship. But this is a video for those, maybe potentially more specifically the introvert side, but it's also for the extrovert side as well. Because what we're talking about today is how to have a friend. Hey, before we continue on, make sure please to click like and subscribe. I know it's told in every video you've ever seen in YouTube land, but it really does make a difference. And it also gives you a chance to see when new videos come out. All right, let's get going. How to make a friend. Well, the extrovert might be going, if that's you, going, I've got lots of friends. Yeah, great. But are they deep, intimate, fully connected? They've got your back no matter what. 3 a.m. call in the morning, my tire is blown. I don't know what to do. It's minus 40. I'm in Canada, so that can happen, and actually has happened to me. Who's going to come out and help me? What do? All right. See, you might be a raging extrovert, but if you don't have that close, connected friend group, I don't know. It could be a shallow level friendship. Vice versa, you could be so introverted on this way spectrum that you're just like, I can't talk to anybody. Okay, I'm super shy. Often a sign of introversion. Can be a sign for some other things too, but that's for a different video. But the point is that either way, whatever you fall, introvert, extrovert, ambivert, that's the person in the middle, all right, a little bit of both. You need to have deep, quality, intimate, connected relationships because we are all wired for connection. So how do you have a friend? How do you actually make a friend? How do you tell the difference? What do you know? Well, there's a couple different things that, we could talk about. But one of the ways I like to describe it is more of a visual perspective, okay? And it's more like a bullseye, all right? So if you think of if you're playing bow and arrow, you always want to hit the center of the target. So think of like the center of a target, okay? And then you have your next level, they'll have like 100 points in the center, 75, 50, 25, 10, 5, until nothing. Oh, look, you hit your friend in the head. Bad mistake, if you're playing darts or something like that, okay? So, how do you make a friend? Well, one of the ways to make a friend is to first of all recognize, even if you have or don't have friends, where that individual is held within your life. See, many people think, I've got all of these friends. And you think, they're in the center of my life. And yet, it turns out that they're not actually there. You think they're there, but they're not. And that can create an unsafe situation, a false sense of security, kind of like, this thing you might have heard called Facebook. And, it's like, look at all my friends. Yeah, well, let's see what happens if you have to move real quickly. And you call on your Facebook friends and let's see who actually shows up to help you move. And it might very quickly let you know who actually is your friend. Okay, with that being said, what is up with the center? The center is what I call the person that I feel the most connected with. It could be, it should be your partner. Maybe it's a mom or a dad or parents, but sadly, sometimes that's not always the case. Maybe it's a brother or a sister. Maybe it's someone I've known since childhood and we're like blood brothers. We do everything together. They're my BFF, and that is, they know everything about me. I know everything about them. That's that person in the center. And, the more technically we have in that, technically the safer of friendships. See, what we're talking about, there's a couple different names for it. All right. One of the terms is a circle of safety. All right. This is a term actually that comes from social work, actually. They call it a circle of safety. And the more people I have in the center, the more safety I have within and surrounding my life. Because if I do have a flat tire, the more in the center, I can call it the 2, 3 in the morning. They will come out and give me a hand with whatever I need to do, especially if it's like an emergency or life-threatening situation. The next level outside of that circle, though, they're what I often call very close friends. They're often people that are actually often do fit what I call the best friend category. They're people that know everything about us, but maybe not everything. All right, maybe they know some parts of us, but they know other parts of us. And for those who deal with things like addictions, quite often that's where they'll discover, oh yeah, they're in my center. No, actually they're in the next realm because they don't know about my addiction. They don't know about this issue or this challenge that I have. So I would put them on that next layer, all right? But here's the thing. They're a person still that I could call on for help and support if I needed that, to be able to allow me to help out, especially, again, if it's a safety situation within that circle of safety. All right. Outside, the other people that can be there, that is also where parents could be. It's also where maybe siblings, a brother or sister, or both could be in as well. Maybe a good aunt, an uncle, grandparents, that kind of thing. Everyone's going to be at different layers of this, and maybe sometimes not at all, depending on the safety of the individual, if they're demonstrating actions that are unsafe within a person's life. The next layer after that, so we got the center, we got sort of the next friendship group, and then we have the next layer after that. This is what I call just sort of the friend zone, okay? Another term that you could use beyond just the friend zone is like coworkers, associates, all right? These are people I see maybe at work every day. I hang out with them, I say hi to them. They know me, they know a little bit about me, they know maybe some of the issues I have, just like I might share an issue on Facebook or something, oh, I had a really bad day, whatever that might be. And, but they don't know me, maybe if I go out for lunch or if we go for a Christmas party, we might get into a little more of a intense talk. Maybe it doesn't mean that they go into the next layer, but emotionally they might go into that next layer because they know me a bit more. But this is the kind of person, I'm not necessarily going to call at 2, 3 in the morning and call for help, but if I had to, I know that this person probably would. They would do the same for me. I would do the same for them because they're a coworker, they're an associate, all right? Lots of different places, such as religious settings, is where a lot of these people are as well, all right? They'll attend religious centers and stuff like that, and they'll see all these different people. Hey, how you doing? How you doing, Fran? How you doing, Jane? How you doing, Frank? But do they actually know who you are when no one's around, when no one's looking? All right, so that puts them in that sort of third category. Now, one layer out, that would be the fourth category. We're getting broader here. These are just the people, I see them at work, but I don't even know them. I might even go, oh, what's that person's name again? Could even be your next door neighbor. Like I say, hey, how you doing? Yeah, good. Hey, nice lawn. But do I really know them? All right, but maybe in a serious emergency I could reach out, but chances are if I can't reach them, I can't be like, oh, some friend they are. Well, no, because they're in the fourth category. That's not fair. I don't know them, they don't know me. See, this is where people get confused and messed up in relationships because I might think I know them. I'm giving into this relationship. Look at all I'm doing, and we do so much together. But if they don't reciprocate that back, that can create a very unhealthy, imbalanced relationship. Some might even call it a codependent, needy-based relationship. And when that happens, that's where that person might think, oh, they're like totally in the first or second ring of my circle of safety. But in fact, they might be in the third, fourth, fifth, nowhere zone within that circle of safety. And the other person's going, oh yeah, I know Jeremiah. Nice guy. Are you friends with him? Not really. I mean, I know him. I mean, he does stuff, but that's it. See, that's an interesting thing. That's a different concept I won't get into, but it's called a differential of power. All right. And if we don't recognize that, we can actually get in very harmfully emotional relationship situations that actually make and get us hurt in the end. All right. It makes us not feel safe. All right. What's this outer zone? What's this final zone? Well, this is actually a very important zone. All right. Just as important as the center, this outer zone is also very important. It's what brings and holds the thing together. And what that is what I call community supports. See, community supports are important because they help. But the problem is some people, all they have is community supports and no one in any of these other layers. So I've had people that I've known where they're like, oh yeah, I got all this help. I'm all good. I'm safe. Yeah, but it's all external. And once the contract ends or once the support ends, what do you do now? You're left with nothing. And so we got to be very careful of that, not to assume or rely too much on these external supports. All right. So who is in these external supports? Well, I mean, it could be your banker. It could be your investor. It could be a lawyer. It could be your dentist. It could be a doctor. And guess what else? That also is where I lie within the realm. All right. Even within the YouTube realm. You might be watching this video and have never met or seen me. Now you might get a sense of who I am, but we're still out here in the community area, okay, of just passing by. However, there's two individuals I always like to pick on that actually go from the outer ring to the inner ring, right to the very center. And that is going to be your doctor, all right, from a physical, sometimes emotional, mental manner. And it's going to be about 5-10 minutes, give or take. And they go right to the center, what's happening, check things out, and then they go right back out. The other person that does that is your therapist. That would be someone like myself. It's where I am on the external community support ring. And then I, for an hour, go right into the center, if the other person will allow me to, and go right into that core. And then after about an hour, I then go back out again. All right. And that's another good example of recognizing, oh, is this my friend or not? Just because they're in the center doesn't mean that they are your friend, because that's part of the reciprocal. I mean, from a realistic perspective, your doctor goes in, but that's a professional duty that they're doing. The therapist goes in, that is their responsibility that they're going in to support your mind, will, and emotions. Your doctor's helping with some of that and your physical side as well. But then they go out. See, that is almost a contractual relationship, which does not make it a friendship. Whole bunch of different areas we could go in about that as well. Again, that power differential, okay, or balance of power, okay, therapeutic difference, all these different terminologies, but we're not going to go into that right now. I hope this supports you if you're an individual who has tons of friends, but are realizing they're all out here, they're not in here. I gotta maybe pick one or two and work towards building that. Or maybe you've got nobody, but I'm an introvert. What do? I'm shy. I get nervous around people. Well, is there one or two people that I can work towards going layer by layer by layer? By the ways, this is how we prevent from going from meeting someone in the community, falling in love, and getting married 3 months later and going, oh, I made the worst mistake ever. Yeah, you did, because you went from here and then now you're here. You didn't get a chance to actually see how far it could go and what is the reciprocating demonstrable actions that the other person is giving and taking as you are giving and taking. And that, unfortunately, is one challenge we all deal with sometimes, and that is time. And that's where we can get very impatient with time sometimes. Oh, but I'm 60 and I'm getting older. I don't care. With all due respect. I mean, I do care enough to say. It's actually a line from my book called Safe People versus Unsafe People, that safe people care enough to confront. And I'm just saying, if you haven't already turned this video off with what I just said, all right, that your therapist or your friend in that inner circle should care enough to be able to confront and go, hey, is this person demonstrating a long enough time to be able to demonstrate that safety and that inner ring that you're allowing them into? Okay. I hope so. It's just that in oftentimes second, third marriages, all right, or common law relationships that break up and then enter into another relationship right away. That can happen. And next thing you know, you're in the world of what I call mistake. And I don't want that to happen to anybody. Anyways, I could go on and on, but I'm not. So without further ado, wherever you are at, I hope the best of wherever you're at today, and have a great rest of your time. All right, building one or two more deeper, intimate relationships that hit that center. All right, you two, we'll catch you later.